favorite Smutty?
First Smutty was Finest Kind IPA, which is absolutely a fantastic IPA.
Portsmouth Lager, which was my first Smutty.
Favorite Smutty? I really like the porters.
We love the Smuttynose Brewery and what it stands for.
Love the restaurant.
I saw one of the older gentlemen that's on the label of the Finest Kind IPA, and he looked just like my grandpa.
Gotta say, I don't know.
The Smuttynose just makes me feel smutty.
Smuttynose is New England's best beer.
I'm gonna have to say the robust porter is probably best by my book.
Smuttynose is awesome.
Live free or die and drink Smuttynose.
Smutty, do it for your grandpa.
One of the first questions that people ask us when they learn about our company is, where did we come up with our name, Smuttynose Brewing Company?
We did a contest, or not even a contest, it was sort of a, encouraged people at the brewery to give us some good names.
The point of the contest was to choose a name for that year's holiday beer, not knowing that about 2 months later, we'd be casting about looking for a name for our brand new company, our new brewing venture.
Yeah, okay, this is the next phase. So I wasn't horrified, as I probably should have been.
The holiday beer that year ended up being called Blitzen Ale. And I just cannot tell you how much I didn't like that name. One of the names that was submitted, though, that I was really charmed by was Smuttynose Ale. And the name was suggested by a young woman who worked in our kitchen.
Greta, who was a chef. I don't know if she was a sous chef, she was a line cook. Greta, wherever you are, Greta, thank you.
She only suggested it because she had fond memories of going out to the Isles of Shoals to go fishing with her grandfather when she was a child. I suggested that name to my sister Janet and my partner Joanne and a couple of other people whose opinion I respected, and everyone said, that's a great name. That's a great name for a company. And I thought, really? You sure? So we wanted to use an animal as a mascot for our logo. And we had a choice, cute, adorable harbor seal or seagulls.
Schwarmy the seal.
It was a pretty easy choice. My partner, Joanne, and I, and the entire staff at Smuttynose would like to welcome all of you to Towle Farm, the new home of Smuttynose Brewing Company. 20 years ago, when we took inventory of the ruins of a little microbrewery that we had bought at a bankruptcy auction in Portsmouth, we had no idea that we were starting a long and sometimes winding journey that would bring us to a place like this. Part of the story of Smuttynose Brewing is the path that we've followed, which really tracks the growth of craft brewing as a whole. We built this place as a place where people can really experience all of the beers that we make, and a great meal and food that's really been very intentionally paired to go well with beer. Getting here from where we started in 1994 has been an interesting journey with some real twists and turns. I want to say it was probably about 1980. I was living in Brooklyn with a roommate, and one of us noticed an advertisement in the back of a magazine for a homebrew kit. Neither of us had ever even heard of home brewing at the time, and we just thought it was the dumbest thing we'd ever heard of. And so naturally, we scraped together 20 bucks and sent in to get this homebrew kit. A plastic tub and some hoses, one of those crimp-on crowners that you put caps on with, a little bag of really pathetic, shriveled up hops, Red Star yeast, and a can of malt syrup. We followed the directions, we made the beer. It really was pretty terrible. I kind of caught the bug, so I would make homebrewed beer from time to time. You know, really just as a hobby. I don't claim that I ever got particularly good at it, but it was certainly interesting to me. I really enjoyed doing it. My sister and her boyfriend Mark, we were sitting around our kitchen table drinking homebrewed beer that I had made. And that led them into talking about these places they'd seen out on the West Coast, that they were these really cool little bars that they had described that made their own beer. I'm not even sure the term brew pub had even been invented at that point. By the end of the evening, we were convinced that someone should do that on the East Coast. And that someone should be us, of course. Fast forward, about a year later, we were actually opening our brew pub in Northampton, Massachusetts, which is still there. It's the Northampton Brewery. We knew within probably 6 months after we opened our brew pub in Northampton that we were onto something. So very early on, we started thinking about opening another location. Someone finally told us about Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Brew pubs were legal in New Hampshire, and we didn't have to jump through a bunch of ridiculous hoops from that perspective to get up and running. By the time we opened the Portsmouth Brewery in the spring of 1991, we were the first and only small brewery in the state.
In the summer of '91, you know, I was working in an outdoor restaurant. We got rained out, and somebody said, well, you know, why don't we go down and check out this brewery place? It was such a mystery to so many people, like, really, they make their own beer? There was a lot of effort put into having to teach people almost about what we were trying to do.
One of our waiters was standing at tableside and taking somebody's order. And he described the beers that we had on tap, which were beers that we made right there under our roof. And the fellow at the table said, yeah, that's fine, but just give me an American beer.
And I just remember over and over and over talking people through, you know, what we were offering and having people take a chance.
The beer is made right there, about 15 feet from where you're sitting. It doesn't get any more American than that.
Finally, as we moved through the end of that summer and into the fall, we were a place people were coming to check out.
So it was our little brew pub making about 1,000 barrels of beer a year, and the Anheuser-Busch brewery over in Merrimack, which I believe makes about 2.5 million barrels of beer a year.
And I just thought, you know what, this is going to be big. It's big and it's going to be big. Joanne was working for a company, a marketing firm, a graphic design firm, whatever, that had been hired to kind of create the story of Portsmouth Brewery, obviously eventually Smuttynose.
We were hired to do all of their print, logo, Northampton Brewery included.
I don't know, all the little touches she put in, lighting, menu design.
Before computers, and so it was much more hands-on involved, doing a lot of still photography of products. So I got to meet, you know, Peter and his sister Janet. And then Peter and I'm gonna skip all that part, just know that we fell in love. And gosh, and then we started the Great New England Brewers Festival.
This will be our 7th annual Great New England Brewers Festival. We've done 6 of them before, so we must be doing something right.
We were young and ambitious.
Better music, better weather. Every year the weather's better.
The big frontier of craft breweries was just
Sound too like canned.
a lot of making things up as we went along.
We started to hear from more and more people that we should really consider putting our beer in bottles and getting it out into the open market.
He really had not had any serious plans about buying a brewery.
I'd gotten a notice that a little microbrewery that had been operating in Portsmouth had filed for bankruptcy, and its assets were being auctioned off by the bank.
Frank Jones Brewing Company was up for sale, you know, the lease for the building they were in, the equipment, all that kind of stuff.
You know, one thing I would say to anyone is if you're an impulsive person and you have a hard time controlling your impulses, auctions are not a good place to visit.
So he just went to the auction and ended up getting the winning bid, and
By the end of the day, I ended up being the owner of this asset, this brewery asset, with no plan and no idea of what to do with it.
Oh, okay, we're gonna bottle beer.
and he had to go back and kind of sit down and start drawing up the business plan.
I didn't have the 25-year whatever perspective. I couldn't see into the future. I just knew that, yeah, okay.
We had no marketing plan, we had no business plan.
There was not a lot of people to mentor with.
We had no brand identity. It didn't even have a name for the company.
We were figuring it out.
Make mine a Smutty. Smuttynose Brewing Company, Portsmouth, New Hampshire.
There really has never been an operator's manual or a roadmap, or at least there wasn't at the time as far as starting a small brewery goes.
You know, Joanne and Peter both, they've been very, obviously really smart about what they've done, but I think they've had a lot of fun doing it.
You know, this is beer we're talking about. This is not brain surgery or world peace or global warming. We're talking about beer here. It is, by definition, fun.
We'd been hearing from our wholesalers that what was called at the time the microbrewery thing, that it had come and gone, that, yeah, it was sort of fun while it lasted, but it's all about imports now. Everybody wants imports. Myself and other people like me in the industry were thinking, well, no, that's really not what it's about. People have discovered something new. They've discovered beer that has character and flavor, and they're not going to turn back. There's no turning back. This genie is now out of the bottle. From 1994 to maybe 1996, we sold every drop of beer we could make. And people were just buying it up left or right. And that was the state of the industry. A phenomenal growth in interest and support for beer that's locally made, that's authentically made, that is not only following traditional styles, but also really expanding our whole concept of what beer is all about. We were part of the same movement that was drawing people towards, everything from small batch bourbons to artisanal breads and cheeses and even things like frozen yogurt and ice cream and so on. Organic produce. If someone asks me if I can identify a supermarket where our beer will sell well, I say, yeah, show me one that has a nice produce section. So by the late 90s, we and the other craft brewers who had survived that shakeout, we're back on a good growth track, and we've been on a track to continue growing really ever since then. We knew that we were going to need to find a new location for our company at the rate we were growing. We already saw the writing on the wall back in probably as early as 2004, 2005. So we started casting about for potential new locations.
Expanding, building a new facility, starting a new restaurant while you're already running businesses. Should I skip over the part about my psychotic break?
So we ended up here in Hampton. And I like to tell people that this is really where we were meant to be all along.
The location was out of the way, and then we started thinking, okay, we'll make it be a destination rather than a drive-by.
We had an opportunity to acquire a beautiful 17-acre site, a former farm.
Towle Farm, the house, the Victorian house. Historically, it's an important piece of the town. So Unfortunately, it was right in the middle of the property, and we had to move it aside. You know, we needed to put the brewery there, so we moved the house over here. It was not the logical thing, but it was the loving thing to do.
We kept the barn. It's a pre-Civil War era barn. And then we were able to build a brand new modern production facility here. It's the place that's going to carry us into the future. One of the pleasures of building a new facility is to be able to do a lot of things right that we weren't able to do in our old facility. But probably more than anything else, one of the things that we have now is a lot of really, really great state-of-the-art equipment. The beer we're making out of our facility is far better and far more consistent and of a much higher quality and higher shelf stability and all those other things that you would want than it's ever been before. And I'm very, very happy to say that. It's something that we've really worked hard to achieve. And I feel like in a way it's part of the result and the reward of being around for as long as we have. It's a lot more energy efficient than the old facility.
I'm just adding some hops here to our hop dosers. This way we don't have to open the top of the vessel when we're adding hops during the boil. It's safer for us and actually is a little more efficient in terms of heat loss. We don't lose much heat.
It is also a lot more logistically efficient, just in terms of the movement of raw materials and finished product and waste materials.
Gold LEED certified, which is so huge, it's so big. It was almost a human form sitting at the table every time we sat with our architects. This is what you do if you actually sincerely mean that we want to make our planet better.
One of the things that I like to think that we do pretty well at Smuttynose is that we have products that really do honor those traditional models very effectively. On the other hand, we also have a lot of fun. The Smut Labs project, for example, is a place where our brewers are really encouraged to really play and have fun. See what they can come up with in a very kind of experimental way, in this sort of spirit of play and adventure.
So when this place was running as Smuttynose, it was a fast-paced environment. A lot of work, a lot of hours. Now that it is Smut Labs, we're being more creative, more artistic with what we're doing. The oak barrels have the ability to transform a beer dramatically. The oak will actually swell, and when it swells and contracts, it's actually pulling in oxygen. So it will actually oxidize a beer and change the flavor dramatically, including whatever was in it before. Bourbon, scotch, port, red wines, anything. Another beer that we did was a collaboration with Great Rhythm and Stoneface, two other local breweries in town. And we did a East Coast Common, which is my twist on a steam beer, which is a little hoppier, a little bit more aggressive, higher alcohol than normal steam beers. And that beer moved over to Towle Farm the next year and was put into production. It's been fun to be involved in a company that started off rather small and took off quickly. And we made some real big advances, and we were making beautiful beers. It's fun.
I really like our image. I guess I'll put it that way. I like our packaging. I like our labels. I like everything about sort of the look and feel of our brand. And the one person who really should get credit for that above everybody else is my partner, Joanne. Her imprint is really on everything that has to do with the look and feel of Smuttynose Brewing. She has a really great eye and a really great sense for expressing the kind of a character and personality of a brand. And that's something that I think has really been of immense value and importance to us over the years. We put a lot of care and attention into that, and I think it shows.
We've made beautiful beer, and sometimes the unsexy, hard drudgery of working on the bottling line and a lot of moving parts and personalities that work in our building, out on the road. My God, the salespeople. I mean, my dad, he was in sales his whole life. I know how hard sales reps work. The hard, dedicated, wonderful people that work here have been such a gift and a blessing.
It's really consistency, day in, day out, year in, year out. And somebody told me that years and years ago when I was first starting in the industry, is that the true mark of a quality brewer is consistency.
I taste beautiful, amazing beer from other breweries. I think we all, within the Smuttynose community, have favorite other breweries that we admire and respect. And we hold our head up and are proud to say we actually started all of that. You do the fold out in the National Geographic, you get to see the history of beer. Smuttynose honed some incredible brewing knowledge from the early years. And we definitely deserve a place in that history. Janet and Peter Eggleston were right there. They were some of the first troops on the ground.
A lot of people come visit our new brewery, and so we're getting a little bit of a snapshot. It's a really wide range of people. You know, I met someone the other day who saw our beer being served at a bar in Dublin, Ireland. And I gotta say, I really got a kick out of hearing that. We're doing a lot of things here that we hope will encourage people to come and just enjoy the site, whether they're here to take a brewery tour or come here to Hayseed to have a meal and a couple of beers.
We've got a garden, a vegetable garden that we'll do.
Or even if they just come to walk around the grounds or to play a round of disc golf.
People love it. It makes people so happy. And it gets people outside.
We'll be having events here, outdoors, out in the meadow behind the barn.
Our legacy will be this property that has so much more that we can keep giving back and doing.
I believe that we have a reputation as doing a lot of things really well. And we pride ourselves on that. We pride ourselves on making a wide range of beer styles and doing all of them well.
And let innovation and creativity always be a part of what we put in a bottle.
People who are really interested in experimenting and trying a lot of different beers from a lot of different breweries, they know that they can always come back and enjoy one of our products as a way of almost like coming home.